Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I hope you're doing great today, man. I know I am. Um, I'm finally able to bring to you the the content of the difference between loneliness and actually being alone. I did not definitely anticipate this becoming such a huge project for me, but I'm definitely esteemed and excited for the capacity that it expanded my mentality and the openness of how honest I had to be with myself and those around me to really understand how to explain this the best way I could. Um, I even enlisted some help from my beautiful girlfriend Brianna. She drew an illustration for me to better emphasize the example that I have for you today in my video. I mean, my the topic, whatever. but Yeah, before we get into that, I want to say thanks to everyone who's been very consistent and active on my page, sharing my posts, liking my comments, even engaging with some of my videos like these. It does definitely does a great deal to contribute to my influence, which in the back end adds to my confidence as my like me personally, as to my personal confidence and my professional competence as I aspire and continue to work toward my goal of becoming a great social influence and creating a personal, intimate space for you and me to prepare ourselves mentally, physically, spiritually for success through the ordinary day to day life to get there. So with that being said, let's just get into it. So before us, as I begin, I want to define some terms. The difference between loneliness and being alone. So I define loneliness as an overwhelming sense of pressure that comes with accepting a personal loss. Now, that is more closely associated with the behavior of isolation. If we choose to distance ourselves and bottle up and protect ourselves, our psychology, our human brain, from the invasion of other people, which we see as vulnerability and not hypersensitive state. Um, and then being alone is to be independent, free of physical participation or direct influence of another person. And that's more closely associated with independence. You're responsible for yourself. You act as yourself. You do of your own. Um, Now, to bring the two together, um, you can. I would like for you to imagine yourself as a container. Any shape, form, size, color, texture, design, and that would be your identification of being alone. A unique um, example, a unique idea that is only of yourself and of you alone. Um, Something as distinguished now your image as your thumbprint. Um, and then loneliness would be the content inside the bottle that we'll say is fire or container, and that would personify our emotions. So if you could just give me a moment to go ahead and grab the image while I further explain um, what's going on. Oh, also the example that we're going to be expressing is dealing with a personal loss such as a disappointment or a decline in a relationship or a fatality in a family. So just give me one sec, please. All right, this is the image that my girlfriend has drawn for me. Try to zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little clearer. Um, so as you can see, what it says here, the fire, no, the fire is the inside, right? It's our bottled up emotions. The trick of isolation is that our psychology believes that we are safer the more distance we put between ourselves and others. Um, so this fire represents that festering isolation. The more we are alone to ourselves, dealing with this overwhelming sense of pressure of this new reality of this loss, um, then it becomes more darker around us, and we are more liable to be consumed by negativity and dark energy, which is why her whole body is black. Now, that is a representation of the soot and the sadness that is spreading within us. Um, and the physical representation of how we alone are behaving because of the isolation that we feel. Now, some people may lash out. Some people may be angry and call people names or maybe blame others. Some people may close their arms or make different expressions um, to that would be the physical representation of that loneliness. But on the contrary, as you can see, the heart as well, that is the representation of the underlying hope that we have, the natural human craving for attention and connection when we are feeling or facing some type of anxiety, fear, or sadness, then that's what that represents. And as you can see, it's still burning pretty boldly because it's fully alive and it can never really be consumed by our darkness because we'll always be wanting more. Um, and that's the part of us that craves that openness and wants us to be vulnerable and invite others in who genuinely want to help us. But then we have the face, as you can see, she's smiling. That would be another, you know, external representation of how we defend ourselves from that closeness from other people. As you can see, some people react differently. Me myself, when I'm dealing with a personal loss, I become very quiet and my face is stoic. My friend Kevin, he actually has like a mean mug when he's going through something personal, and it's intimidating sometimes. And as you can see, the simple smile is also very deceiving because we're just giving off that persona like, yeah, we're fine, it's all good, thanks for checking on me. But when actually on the inside we're drowning, it's very dark, we can't see, and we're calling for help but don't know how to do it. But then the battlefield would be of the mind, which is why you see the halo. The halo is supposed to be our brain, and the choices that we make to deal or handle or manage our anxiety. After some time, of course, we're going to be alone because we have to individually experience things. But after some time, we have a choice to either, establish deeper connections with the environment and the people around us so that we can be empowered and strengthened through our ordeal. Um, or we can decide to reject and further create distance and deflect people's offers of assistance to who actually want to help us out. Um, so in this example, you can say that depending on where you lean on in the battlefield of your mind, you can be your hero, your greatest hero and adversary, or your worst enemy or nemesis. And the squiggly lines are on the outside is would be the representation of the environmental influences. Here you can see that it's positive because her halo is burning bright and she has that glow to her. Like she knows everything is gonna be all right, and she's aware that people are trying to help her. So, she's kind of lightening up a little bit over time, and she will eventually let people in and embrace vulnerability, and she'll be strengthened by her experience. But on the opposite end, if though that same halo can become horns, if we decide, the opposite as I mentioned, to, blame others and hold the grudges and allow that fire to smolder and reinforce that loneliness, then we can become very miserable and unhappy. Um, so that's pretty much it. Um, yeah, so I feel pretty good about it. If you have an illustration or an idea, feel free to submit your representation of loneliness, and I'm definitely going to be doing mine when I get home to draw it up. And I'm glad to have shared this with you. Um, if you like this, feel free to comment below, share, hit the like button, and I'll be back with you soon. Peace.